Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this segment of protecting your loved ones. My name is Marysol Uribe, and I am joined tonight by my colleague Maria Lupini. And here at Athena Financial, we meet with other experts in the financial field to make sure that your family is protected, that your loved ones are protected when it comes to legacy planning and ensuring that your loved ones have what they need in your absence. Now, today we're going to have a very special guest, an extended colleague of ours, Victor Lopez Martinez, who we have prepared some commonly asked questions. And without further ado, I would like to really maximize our time together. So I'll begin with the first one very shortly. So, again, recap if you're just logging in. Tonight's live session, Protecting Your Loved One's Benefits, is an educational conversation about how life insurance can help safeguard your family's future. Together with attorney Victor Martinez, we'll walk through how benefits really work, common gaps families overlook, and a short segment on planning for a child or adult with special needs, so their care can continue even if you're not here. In español, Maria will give us a brief of this same segment, and then we will transition to the questions in English first. So, Maria.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas noches. Bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por tomarse el tiempo de estar en nuestra presentación. La sesión en vivo de esta noche es protegiendo los beneficios de nuestros seres queridos. Es una conversación educativa sobre cómo el seguro de vida puede ayudar a proteger el futuro de su familia. De igual forma, junto con el abogado Víctor Martínez, veremos cómo funcionan realmente los beneficios, los errores más comunes que cometen muchas familias y un segmento breve en cómo planear para un ser querido con necesidades especiales, para que su cuidado continúe aunque usted ya no esté presente. Acompáñenos desde su teléfono, computadora y escuche con calma y traiga todas sus preguntas para nosotros. Gracias.
Gracias, Maria. Thank you so much for that. And you guys are trickling in here. If you've got a question, type it in the chat box. But for now, we will begin with something that we've commonly heard our past clients inquire about in the past. Now, again, this is a very exciting opportunity to have the front row seat, right? Be with an attorney that knows what he's talking about, right? Someone who has been here, done that for how many years now, Victor?
I've been an attorney now for 2022. Doesn't seem like a long time, but it's been quite a while. And then before that, I've been in the legal field since 2015. So that's 11 years in the legal industry.
Wow, that's an amazing track record. You guys, he may look young, but he is very experienced. Okay, so don't let that fool you.
I thought you were gonna say he may look young, but he's actually really old.
You know, it's really nice to be with people that just energize you, and the smile that we share definitely helps communicate that. So, Victor, I'll start with a few common questions I hear from families, and then we'll open it up.
All right, let's get to it.
For families who already have life insurance through work, what are some of the most common gaps you see that could still put their loved ones at risk?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'd say one of the common issues with work um, related insurance policies, life insurance policies, is that they've been working at this job for so long, right? So probably when they started their life insurance policy, um, maybe they had no kids, right? Maybe they started this job and this was their first job. They got a nice insurance policy that covered them. And they added maybe their parents, maybe their siblings, right? They weren't married yet, didn't have kids. And then you sort of forget what benefits you have, right? If you're not using them, you sort of just forget about them. 25 years down the line, now you have a family, now you have children, you're married, but your beneficiaries are still the same as to when you started that job, right? So a common issue is um, I I created something, I created a trust, right? But I didn't change my beneficiaries. I left my beneficiaries the same. I didn't review my beneficiaries, and now um, the employee passes away and the insurance policy issues a check not to the spouse, not to the children, but to the employee's brother, sister, mom, dad. Huge gap, right? The other thing that is kind of common in terms of work-related life insurance policies is that sometimes it's not enough money, right? Again, you started off when you first started your job, they told you it's going to be double your pay. You were like, yeah, that's really great, right? As a 21-year-old, when you start your job and you get double your pay, that sounds amazing. But then you start getting a whole lot of other expenses. It ends up being not enough, right? Sometimes a life insurance policy provided by work typically covers your salary for 3, 6 months, maybe 2 to 6 months. Um, we want to ensure that you have your family is sufficiently protected where they're not going in debt because when you pass away.
Right. And people don't realize they could get a very inexpensive term policy for protection. And then we've got other policies that cover your whole life for more so the accumulation of it, and for more so these strategic investors who like the idea of not having lazy money just in the bank and like the idea of borrowing from something that is an asset of theirs, and then sort of continuing on with keeping their funds growing, right, in a diversified way. And so
Absolutely.
that's something that we definitely love to educate on. Question number two, shall we?
Let's go.
If someone passed away tomorrow, what are the first two or three questions you'd want their family to be able to answer about benefits and protection?
I would say that the one question that is very important is where are the important documents? Where are the important documents that establish the assets that the individual had during their lifetime, right? Everybody has either a box, a safe, a binder, a mattress, where you store your personal belongings, where you store the important documents. So understanding where these documents are, whether they exist and where they are, whether the individual created a plan prior to passing, where the insurance policy documents are at, right? Retirement accounts, bank account statements, where all those documents are is the big question to ask because that's usually the big headache, right? If you don't know, now I like to say that our assets are sort of like our toys, right?
Yeah.
Our assets are the toys that we had as little kids. And there are two types of kids, right? There are the kids that are very good at storing their toys in their storage bins. And there are the kids that are very bad at storing their toys in the storage bin. And if you were like me and you weren't very good at storing your toys in the storage bin, then you have mom and dad, or you're gonna have your kids stepping on those Legos and really getting hurt because you're not gonna be able to see where they were at, and trying to gather all those things, just it becomes a headache. um, you're the only one who knows where your assets are at. So organize them for your family, and make sure that if you're caring for your parents, if you're caring for your spouse, for your loved one, that at minimum you ask them, you don't need to know the details. You just need to know where are these items? Where is it that you keep your important items just in case we need to use them?
Yes. Yes, that's amazing. Um, as a professional who was brought up with a healthcare background, we have a lot of codes in the hospital setting, code blue being one of them. Now, when that happens, newbies usually kind of choke, right? They need a mentor, some sort of preceptor to follow them to the scene, make sure everything is done appropriately. Now, it's very natural to go through a code blue situation in your own household for the first time. You may not have someone there holding your hand while this is happening, but from a distance, you do have people that you could talk to and plan these unfortunate events much sooner rather than later. And so you definitely have that support available to you. And let's move on to the next question. So, how often should a typical family review their life insurance and beneficiary designations to make sure everything still lines up with their wishes?
Our recommendation is typically every 3 to 5 years. Review your documents every 3 to 5 years. This is your life insurance policy, your estate plan, power of attorneys, healthcare decisions. Make sure that your beneficiaries and your life insurance policies, your wills, your trusts, those are still up to date. 3 to 5 years is a good regular checkup, but it's sort of like going to the doctor, right? You should go to the doctor every year, but every time you feel something is up with you, you should probably also go to the doctor. I say that because every situation in your life that there is a significant change, you should go back to your documents and look at them. For example, like I was saying earlier, you just got a job, you had no family, you weren't married, and then you get married. You should go back, check out your life insurance policy, your beneficiaries in your trust, your will, see if that's still the same. If you have loved ones who have passed away, you should go and review your documents. If you start having children, you should go and review your documents. If for some reason your marriage doesn't go so well, and you decide to divorce, check your documents, because you probably don't want your spouse, your ex-spouse, to acquire your assets at this point. So every significant stage in your life, you should be reviewing your documents. So, like I said, it's sort of like a doctor's visit. Go every year, but if you're feeling something is up, go check it out. Go check it out.
Yes, yes. And you know what? I do want to say, because I've insured a couple of people diagnosed with diabetes. And if your health status improves when you do go visit your physician, your healthcare team annually, and you get your blood checked, you are able to get a more affordable rate class. So you can actually go back to your insurance carrier, present these laboratory values, and you can negotiate a more affordable rate class. So, a little tip right
Absolutely.
there.
And I think that analogy applies well with the law too, because let's say you created your plan in 2019 and there weren't tax benefits then that you can apply now in your trust, you can now add them to your trust and you can get those tax benefits, right? The law changes just as much as we change, right? So like you said, you go back to the doctor and something changes, something that wasn't there before that could benefit you is available, then as attorneys, our job is to provide that information for you to benefit yourself from you, make sure that your estate plan is benefiting you with the best um, possible outcome.
Yes, love it. Let's move on to question 4. And this is kind of the general segment. And then I'll have Maria ask these same questions in Spanish so that for that audience, we can upload them in separate videos later. Now, what are some simple warning signs that a family's current plan might not actually work the way they think it will when something happens?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say one of the biggest red flags is where you have one beneficiary and you live under the assumption that this person will figure it out. The I've seen trusts that are 2 pages long. That
Mm,
to me is a huge red flag.
mm,
Why? Because there's no detail, right? And then I ask my client, what are your intentions? Well, they'll figure it out. Well, that's not the purpose of an estate plan. The purpose of an estate plan is to give you the control and for you to figure it out and for you to leave instructions for your loved ones. So I think that that's one of the big red flags. The other red flag is when a client tells me, I think it's covered. I think I did this. I think I did that, right? At Inherent Guard, what we like to do is we like to understand people's intentions and we like to review the documents with individuals and confirm that they know what's in their plan, that they can explain what's in their plan, right? So that nobody is in doubt of what's in their plan, right? Um, if you know what's in your plan, you know how your plan is going to function, and you don't have somebody else figuring it out. So, last little red flag is having somebody in your trust who you don't talk to anymore.
mm,
Uh, for example, client of mine came into the office and said, "Oh, I asked him who's your trustee." There were 3 names of 3 individuals as trustees. None of those 3 individuals had made contact with this individual for the last 3 to 5 years. So it's like, okay, you're putting some individuals there who you haven't talked to in a long time. Um, that's a big bit of a red flag because it's gonna end up in court. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid you going to court.
yeah, exactly. I hope you guys are taking notes. Thank you so much for being a part of this moment. You're able to plan for your own lives, and you're giving us the opportunity and trust to deliver this information for you. So, switching languages, como este es un seminario bilingüe, voy a pasar el micrófono a María Lupini para que pregunte estas mismas preguntas en español y que el abogado nos dé un síntesis para nuestra comunidad latina. María. So, vamos desde el 1.
Hasta la 4.
Ajá.
Víctor, muchas gracias. Ahora voy a continuar como Marysol lo mencionó. Vamos a hacer estas mismas preguntas en español para las personas la audiencia de habla hispana.
Muy bien.
Vamos a empezar. La primera, Víctor, es para las familias que ya tienen seguro de vida a través del trabajo, ¿cuáles son algunas cuáles son las lagunas más comunes que usted ve todavía que pueden tener en riesgo a sus seres queridos, a estas personas?
Ya, una de las lagunas o de las cosas que miramos con las pólizas de aseguranzas con el del trabajo es de que a veces las personas que obtienen estas pólizas las obtienen a una edad muy temprana, antes de tener familia, antes de casarse, y ves al recursos humanos, vas a recursos humanos y te dicen, te dan un folleto y te preguntan, pon aquí a quién le vas a dejar la herencia tuya. Cuando no estás casado, cuando no tienes familia, típicamente son tus hermanos, tus sobrinos, tus papás a los que pones en el documento y pasan 20 años. 20 años pasan muy rápido. Eh, Después de 20 años, si no ves esos documentos, si no ves que tienes esos beneficios, es típico que se te olvide a quién pusiste. Y después de 20 años, no cambias las designaciones. Eso significa que si llegas a fallecer, los que se van a beneficiar de esa póliza de aseguranza no van a ser tu esposa y tus hijos que adquiriste durante esos 20 años. Va a ser el papá, la mamá, el hermano, el sobrino al quien pusiste cuando empezaste el trabajo. Entonces, esa es una de las cosas que miramos, que hay un poquito de una laguna en las pólizas de aseguranza. La otra cosa, la segunda cosa, viene siendo que a veces las pólizas de seguro de vida de trabajo no son suficientes para cubrir los gastos que vas a tener, los gastos fúnebres o los gastos de tu familia, right? Típicamente, estas pólizas de aseguranza cubren entre 2 meses a 6 meses de ingresos. 2 meses a 6 meses de ingreso cuando empezaste no va a ser suficiente para cubrir ahora que ya tienes hijos, esposa, a- casa, eh, coches, mientras vamos adquiriendo más bienes, nuestras deudas van acumulando y necesitamos más dinero. Y lo peor que puede suceder es fallecer dejándole a nuestra familia, a nuestros seres queridos más cercanos, nuestras esposas, nuestros hijos, una deuda bastante grande y no tener suficientes recursos para cómo suplementar el ingreso de los que sobreviven.
Claro, definitivamente es muy claro, entonces espero que les haya quedado claro que la importancia de siempre estar actualizando todo, ¿correcto? Cualquier cambio.
Correcto.
Vamos a seguir con la siguiente pregunta. La siguiente pregunta es, si alguien falleciera mañana, ¿cuáles son las primeras 2 o 3 preguntas que usted quisiera que su familia pudiera contestar sobre sus beneficios y su protección?
La primera pregunta que yo le hago a todos mis clientes es, ¿cuáles son los bienes que tenía esta persona? Pólizas de aseguranzas, casas, inmuebles, cuentas de banco, eh, pólizas de seguro de vida, cuentas de retiros. Todos tenemos guardados en algún lugar nuestros documentos importantes, los documentos que nosotros guardamos ya sea en un cajón, en una caja de seguridad o a veces hasta lo guardamos debajo de la cama, pensando de que ese es el mejor lugar donde lo podemos guardar. eh, pero todos tenemos ese lugar donde tenemos esa información y si no tenemos esa información, típicamente es cuando se vuelve un poquito difícil cuando estamos administrando, ¿right? Porque si no sabemos dónde están los documentos importantes, no sabemos si la persona murió intestado o tenía un testamento o tenía un living trust, un fideicomiso, si no sabemos esas cosas, la administración se vuelve más complicada y es cuando empezamos a ver que ahora necesitamos la ayuda de la corte, tenemos que gastar más dinero, tenemos que hacer más cosas. am, y la segunda cosa es entender quiénes son los beneficiarios, quiénes son los herederos, eh, quiénes son la familia cercana de esta persona que llegó a fallecer, porque todas esas personas van a estar muy involucradas en lo que viene siendo la administración del fideicomiso, del testamento o si la persona muere intestada.
Correcto. Ya aquí la importancia de dejarle siempre saber a las personas, a nuestros familiares, en dónde están los documentos más importantes. Claramente es importantísimo. Gracias por recalcarlo. Continuamos con la siguiente pregunta.
Claro que sí.
Vamos a, ¿con qué frecuencia debe una familia típicamente revisar su seguro de vida? obviamente sus beneficiarios, para asegurarse que todo siga alineado con lo que ellos quieren, con sus deseos finales.
La regla general es de cada 3 a 5 años revisar los documentos, revisar las pólizas de seguro de vida, los beneficiarios en algún fideicomiso, en las pólizas. eh, es típico cada 3 a 5 años. ¿Por qué cada 3 a 5 años? Porque típicamente hay cambios durante esos 3 a 5 años. Pero usando la analogía que estábamos hablando en inglés, es como ir al doctor, ¿right? El doctor deberíamos de ir cada año. Digo deberíamos porque soy culpable de no ir tan seguido. Deberíamos ir cada año, pero también deberíamos ir cada vez que si en alguna ocasión sentimos un malestar, right? So, si sentimos que nos duele la cabeza y nos duele en una forma excesiva, vamos a ir al doctor. So, cada vez que hay un cambio exceso en la vida de uno, también hay que revisar esos documentos. Por ejemplo, empezando con alguien que apenas eh, empezó a trabajar, no tiene familia, no tiene hijos. eh, Cuando esa persona se llega a casar, muy importante revisar sus documentos. Cuando esa persona llegue a tener hijos, muy importante revisar esos documentos. Si esa persona, el matrimonio no llega a funcionar, se llegan a divorciar, importante revisar los documentos. Y también si en algún momento algún familiar llega a fallecer, que está dentro de los beneficiarios, es muy importante actualizar toda esa información a todos los cambios de la vida de uno. Un documento de planificación, un patrimonio, un plan patrimonial, no es un documento de que una vez y ya, igual como las pólizas de aseguranzas. No hay que nada más firmar el documento y ya, hay que revisarlo muy seguidamente, cada 3 a 5 años por lo general, y cada vez que haya un cambio drástico en nuestras vidas.
Perfecto, ya es importantísimo, como lo acabas de mencionar, que siempre estén, que estén al pendiente de cualquier cambio, por mínimo que sea, que a veces decimos, bueno, creo que esto no es importante o no es relevante. Eso cambia, hace totalmente la diferencia, ¿verdad? Puede hacer la diferencia especialmente en este tipo de, bueno,
Correcto,
ujú.
correcto, sí. Y la otra cosa que es importante también clarificar, que hay veces que y cuando creas el fideicomiso o tu póliza de aseguranza, las leyes eran muy diferentes a después. En 5 años las leyes van a haber cambios en las leyes. Y esos cambios en las leyes posiblemente nos beneficien a nosotros. Y si nos benefician a nosotros, qué bueno actualizar nuestros documentos para que obtengamos esos beneficios. Al igual, si las leyes cambian en una manera que ya no nos van a beneficiar de la forma que estaba escrito nuestro fideicomiso anterior, vamos a hacer esos cambios para ahora obtener los beneficios o encontrar formas de evitar penalidades con los cambios de leyes que hay.
Perfecto, definitivamente. Entonces, es importantísimo recalcar eso. Cualquier mínimo cambio, por mínimo que sea, siempre estar al corriente, al día, ¿correcto?
Correcto.
Vamos a continuar con la siguiente pregunta. La siguiente es, ¿cuáles son algunas señales de alerta sencillas de qué plan actual de una familia quizá ya no le está funcionando? ¿Cómo ellos piensan cuando algo les pase? ¿Cómo esto puede afectarlos cuando a ellos les pase algo?
Sí, un red flag, como le llamamos en inglés, de que un fideicomiso no está funcionando de la manera que querían que funcionara, es si el fideicomiso es de 2 páginas o si es muy corto, ¿verdad? Típicamente nuestros fideicomisos que preparamos pueden correr de 50 a 70 páginas. Eh, Son documentos bastante extensos porque hay bastante información que va dentro de ese fideicomiso. Si es de 2 páginas, hay cosas que no fueron aclaradas en el documento que pueden causar confusión. Y la cosa que puede causar un problema es que si la persona creó el fideicomiso, dice, mi familia va a saber qué hacer, right? La intención de crear un plan patrimonial es de poner todas nuestras intenciones dentro de un documento para que nuestra familia respete nuestras decisiones. No es darle el trabajo a la familia, a que ellos lo averigüen, es nosotros hacer las decisiones en vida para que ellos respeten las decisiones de nosotros. Otra señal es de que el fideicomiso no va a estar funcionando de la manera que necesite funcionar, es si hay alguien dentro de ese fideicomiso con el que uno ya no tiene contacto. Por ejemplo, tuve un cliente que llegó a mi oficina y miramos su fideicomiso y tenía tres albaceas designadas y las tres albaceas llevaba 3 a 5 años que no hablaba con esas personas. Entonces es ahí un momento donde uno tiene un buen momento para revisar los documentos y decir, esto no va a funcionar porque ya no tengo ni contacto con ellos, que vamos a terminar en corte si es que no hago yo un cambio el día de hoy.
Definitivamente, y algo que muy buenas red flags para que todos tomen en cuenta esas señales tan importantes, ¿verdad? Para no caer en esos errores que pueden ser muy comunes y costarnos bastante.
Correcto.
Muchas gracias, Víctor. Vamos a continuar con Marysol en la charla en inglés. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, María. Y unos últimos pensamientos. Espero que todos ustedes hayan tomado nota. Pregúntense, ¿qué he aprendido hasta ahorita? Welcome to the half of the segment. Please ask yourself, what is it that I've learned so far? Hopefully, you've all written down at least 3 points, 3 action steps, 3 things that you've learned. Maybe one of them being, hey, I need to have a code blue binder at my home so that I go to it. It's listed out 1 through 10 steps to follow, what to do under X, Y, and Z situation. Like a policy and procedure that you read at work, why not have a policy and procedure at home? So excellent. Now we're on to the special needs segment. For a child or adult, Victor, with special needs who receives government benefits, what are the biggest mistakes families make when they try to leave them something out of love?
The biggest issue when dealing with somebody with special needs is giving somebody money outright when they're receiving governmental benefits. It's a big key component with individuals who are getting governmental assistance is that most of these government assistance are income-based, right? Or asset-based. That means that they're taking into consideration how much money you're receiving every month to determine whether you qualify for these governmental benefits. Um, Sometimes out of love, you want to give your child $50,000, right? But that's a huge, huge no-no. That's giving them $50,000 is essentially telling them, I'm disqualifying you right away from any governmental assistance you're going to receive from now until probably the next year and a half. And those $50,000 are probably most likely just going to cover their basic needs. And essentially, out of love, you try giving them some cash, but you took away that governmental assistance that was really keeping them stable, right? So I'd say that anything outright to a child or an adult who is receiving governmental assistance is a big, big no-no.
And does it vary from state to state, Victor? I know earlier, as the trailer video to this segment, you had I heard a mention of about $2,000. Is that the ballpark here in California?
In California, it's about $2,000. So it varies state by state. It's all depending on the Medicaid. Every state has their own Medicaid provisions. That's when it comes to Medicaid. Social Security, it is the same because that's federal. So there's SSI, there's SSDI, and there is one more that is not clicking with me. But then in California, there are things like Medicaid, um, uh, food stamps, which they're no longer called food stamps. They're called SNAP benefits. That's another one. And then there's IHSS caregiving, right? Where a caregiver can be designated to take care of your loved one, or you can, as if you have the special needs, you can hire somebody to take care of you, and the government pays for that. All those benefits have their own income requirements. And depending on each one of them, the point is that regardless of what it is, it's never more than $2,000. So the moment you've given somebody $2,000, you've essentially said, this month, I'm covering your government-based expenses, and you're no longer getting it from the government.
Yeah. Yeah. So that could really draw a disconnect when it comes to their future benefits.
Yes, yes. And the issue is that sometimes some of these programs come with penalties that, okay, maybe 1 month is okay that they don't receive it, but then the penalties say, okay, you're not going to receive it for the next 6 months. So you gave them $2,000 1 month, but now they're out for another 6 months, which is another $12,000, right? So essentially your $2,000 cost them $10,000.
Yeah. For those of you who love learning and are absorbing this like a sponge, I want to make a quick correlation. Like IHSS is for supporting loved ones with special needs. You may need some sort of of care in the future. And if you're a parent with kids, your kids may need respite care so that they're not the ones caring for you 24/7. Here at Athena Financial, we teach about how to buy long-term care insurance so you could give your children, your children that respite care so that others can step in when it comes to home health, when it comes to private duty nursing. You will have the money to expend all of those costs. If you don't want to take from your 401k, from your IRA, etc., having a long-term care policy would be the best play. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. And so moving on to this in simple terms, how planning with tools like trusts can help protect a special needs loved one's eligibility for benefits.
Great question. So the way we do that is that we create what's called a special needs trust. And with the special needs trust, there are various special needs trusts, but I'm going to focus on something called a third-party special needs trust, which is where you're funding it with money that is not that person's money, right? So if I want to give a special needs individual money and they're receiving governmental benefits, I can leave it to them. I can leave them an inheritance. I can give them a gift and put it in what's called a special needs trust. What the special needs trust does is that we designate not that individual, but we designate a third party to administer that trust, essentially administering that money for them. And they have that money as backup for governmental assistance. Governmental assistance does not count money in a special needs trust as theirs because they don't have direct access to it, right? So because they don't have direct access to it, it's not their asset. The trustee of the special needs trust can give them money to pay for certain things or can pay certain things for them, essentially bypassing the individual with special needs. The individual with special needs has no control to the asset, and that is essentially the way that we bypass the disqualification for governmental assistance. And at the same time, we can say, I gave my child, I gave my brother, I gave my son, my daughter, or whomever this individual is that I care for who has special needs, I gave them money that they can count on, but they are not disqualified from governmental assistance. They continue to receive the governmental assistance, and they can use that additional money for a rainy day, right? If they need something else that isn't covered by governmental assistance, the special needs trust can come in and pay it.
That was beautifully explained. Thank you guys for, again, sharing this with two family members or two friends. Thank you in advance because we are spreading education. We are saving a lot of headaches in the future, and we're giving loved ones with special needs the chance to continue their benefits and not disturb any other hard-earned monies that were gathered for the benefit of the loved one's future. Moving on to our next question here. You guys are doing great with hanging in. How can life insurance be used alongside a special needs plan so that a loved one is supported but doesn't lose important benefits?
Yes, the great thing about life insurance policies is that you can put anyone as your beneficiary, even a special needs trust, right? So your life insurance policy is there to protect your loved ones. Generally, that's why people take out these policies because they want to ensure that their loved ones have enough cash if they're missing, if they're gone, right? Um, and if you have a special needs individual in your family, you're probably worried about them too. So instead of giving them a gift outright, you can put their special needs trust as the beneficiary of that life insurance policy and take on the full benefits of having this special needs trust. So any funds can come into this special needs trust. It doesn't have to be the funds that you have today. It could be the funds from this life insurance policy going to take care of that child and ensuring that that child, so long as you're not here, there's sufficient money so that somebody can advocate for that child. And should something happen to that child, that money doesn't go to the government. It goes to whomever you decide it goes to next. So that's one of the huge benefits of a special needs trust, a third-party special needs trust, that you can leave them an insurance plan. They get the benefit of the insurance plan. They have the money available in the event that they need it. And if they don't use it and they pass away, the next term that you're going to elect is who gets this if my special needs child is no longer able to receive it. And that's your choice. You get all that control. You get to dictate who that subsequent beneficiary of that life insurance policy is through the special needs trust.
Right. And for those of you wondering too, well, if my special needs child or loved one has difficulty with managing their monies in the first place, do I need to appoint a financial professional to help me with this or a financial power of attorney? The answer is yes, you can, right?
Yes, you definitely want to leave somebody in charge who knows and has some knowledge of finances, right? Um, you don't want to leave somebody who is afraid to ask for help. Because if you leave somebody who's afraid to ask for help, even if you leave a nice insurance policy and they don't know how to manage a special needs trust, one of the things about a special needs trust is that um, the first part is creating it, the second part is administering it. And you want to ensure that you administer it in the right way because even though you created it and you have the structure for it, if somebody administers it incorrectly and starts giving this individual a whole bunch of cash, it's essentially, it defeats the purpose of the special needs trust. So you do want to have somebody who can who has knowledge in how to administer cash in this manner. Someone like Marysol who can sort of jump in there and say, hey, you know what? This is a special needs trust. We need to make sure that money isn't going directly to the individual so that we don't disqualify them from governmental benefits.
Yes, exactly. So that's when we can step in here at Athena Financial. We'll map everything out so that your loved one continues to stay protected. And so the administrators are knowledgeable as well on general financial concepts so that you walk away empowered knowing what to do. Awesome. Question number next. When families are just starting to think about a special needs plan, what is a realistic, low stress first step you recommend they take after a conversation like tonight?
I'd say, look, tonight, if you're thinking about planning for your special needs child, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have everything figured out. There are a lot of questions that go into a special needs trust. What you need to sit around and talk to your spouse, to your partner is what type of care do we want to provide to our child? What do we want to leave? Do we want to protect our child? I think that's the big question you should ask yourselves. Do I want to protect my child? And if so, the next question is, how much do I believe I should set aside for my child so that they are comfortable? If I were to pass away tomorrow, would there be somebody who can advocate for my child, and who would that individual be? I think those are three great questions to kind of think about today, right? I'd say maybe focus a lot on the last one of, if I were gone today, who do I trust enough that will be able to take care of my special needs child? And if I don't have anybody, who can I lean on to help me figure out who is a good fit?
Yes. Very key, you guys. I hope you've been taking notes. If not, you could rewind if you're watching the replay and sit with this. Sit with this with the people you care about, with your loved ones, and map it out. Have the courage to ask hard questions and make these very important and permanent moves so that your family will be ready and prepared. Excellent. So very shortly, we will move on to the Spanish segment of these same questions. And before we do, Victor, could you help us answer and get clarity on, you know, who are the key professionals you like to see around the table when a family is planning for a special needs loved one and their other children at the same time?
Key professionals, I would say, are the two people or the person who wants to care for that child. The primary caregivers, I'd say. Next in line would be a financial advisor. You want to make sure that somebody who can advise you of the different avenues that there are, insurance policies that there are available, or other financial tools that are available to grow your assets in a way that can protect that child. That would be the next in line. And I'd say you want to have a good attorney on your side too. You want to make sure that you have an attorney who understands special needs trust and somebody who understands government benefits, right? So having those key players around the table are key. Other people that should join are care coordinators, therapists. Sometimes, depending on the special needs of that child, you have more medical professionals on the team, just to ensure there are some things that I'm not a doctor, right? I do work with special needs children, but I'm not a doctor, so there are certain things that I don't know of. For example, medication, stuff like that. So having somebody who is having a whole team that is willing to work together, that's key to success.
And a holistic approach, right? An
Correct.
interdisciplinary team that communicates with each other to help position you to the best possible outcome, really.
Absolutely.
And finally, for our final question to wrap this segment in English, if a parent is feeling overwhelmed by all of this, what would you tell them so they don't freeze, so they don't choke, and avoid making any plan at all?
Yeah, I would say, look, like I said at the beginning, you don't have to have it all figured out today. You just need a starting point. You need a starting point, and that starting point is listening to this conversation today, maybe, right? F Understanding that there is a way to protect your child. And planning, planning in itself is an act of love.
Yeah.
Planning in itself is an act of showing your loved ones that you care.
Mhm.
It's not a test you have to pass. It's honestly, it's it's showing somebody you cared enough to think about them today. That's all you really have to move forward with. I'd say if you can acknowledge that you're planning and you are willing to get help from others, Athena Financial, Inherit Guard, that's what we're here for. We're here to provide that hand to guide you towards the process. You don't have to do it alone. You can give us a call. We are more than happy to help. We are more than happy to guide you through that path.
Absolutely. Excellent way to wrap that up. Thank you so much, Victor, all of you who tuned in. And if you speak Spanish, stay for the Spanish segment. So, aquí tenemos a María Lupini, mi socia aquí en Athena Financial, para continuar con el segmento en español de necesidades especiales. Acompáñanos.
Víctor, vamos a retomar ahora las preguntas, igual para nuestra audiencia de personas que tienen niños con necesidades especiales. La pregunta es, para un hijo o adulto con necesidades especiales que recibe beneficios del gobierno, ¿cuáles son los errores más grandes que cometen las familias cuando tratan de dejarles algo por amor?
Sí, yo creo que el error más grave es darle a una persona que está recibiendo asistencia gubernamental algún monto de dinero así en efectivo o una transacción en efectivo. Eh, y sin condiciones, que automáticamente se lo dan. ¿Por qué? Porque muchos de los servicios gubernamentales son a base de necesidad. Eso significa de que la necesidad la determinan en los ingresos y la mensualidad que va recibiendo esa persona eh, en términos de ingresos, regalos. Los regalos califican o pueden descalificar a alguien a recibir esa ayuda gubernamental. Generalmente, muchos de los servicios gubernamentales aquí en el estado de California, si recibes más de $2,000 al mes, automáticamente estás descalificado porque ya no necesitas esa ayuda, right? Entonces te descalifican y a veces hay servicios que hasta pueden descalificarte por meses, aunque un mes es el único mes que recibiste ingresos, te pueden descalificar por 2 meses, 3 meses, 4 meses, y eso puede afectar bastante a alguien recibiendo esa asistencia gubernamental. ¿Por qué? Porque la persona que está recibiendo asistencia gubernamental depende de la asistencia gubernamental para tratamientos médicos. Eh, Como el medical, right? A veces para cuidado intenso, cuidado médico, como lo que viene siendo IHSS, en donde hay alguien que cuida a la persona. O a veces para los ingresos, para la comida, como los SNAP benefits, o los ingresos de uno para poder pagar la renta, cosas así. Desafortunadamente, al darle un regalo am, directo a esa persona de necesidades especiales, los puede descalificar de la asistencia gubernamental.
Por eso aquí la importancia de tener todo claro, esclarecido, correcto, en un fideicomiso, es la importancia de...
Correcto,
Ah,
correcto.
ujú, perfecto. Gracias, Víctor. Vamos a continuar con la siguiente. ¿Puedes explicar en términos sencillos cómo la planificación con herramientas como los fideicomisos pueden ayudar a proteger la elegibilidad de un ser querido con necesidades especiales para sus beneficios?
Voy a intentar ser sencillo con algo tan complicado como lo que viene siendo los fideicomisos de necesidades especiales. Pero la función de un fideicomiso de necesidades especiales, y voy a hablar de un fideicomiso de terceras personas, en donde, por ejemplo, yo estoy proporcionando dinero a alguien que tiene necesidades especiales y quiero darle un regalo a un ser querido que tiene necesidades especiales. Como comentaba, si yo quiero darle $50,000 a ese ser querido, automáticamente, eh, automáticamente lo voy a descalificar. Entonces, la mejor manera es ponerlo dentro de un fideicomiso y designar a una tercera persona que va a administrar ese dinero. Eso significa que a los ojos del gobierno, esa persona de necesidades especiales no tiene acceso a recibir ese dinero, entonces no son considerados ni como ingresos ni como bienes de esa persona y no lo descalifica de la asistencia gubernamental. Sin embargo, esa persona tiene acceso a ese dinero al decirle al albacea, ¿sabes qué? Los servicios gubernamentales no cubrieron por X. Yo ocupo X. Y aquí está este dinero que me dejó Víctor, los $50,000. Usa ese dinero para pagar estos servicios que no fueron cubiertos por la asistencia gubernamental. Esa estrategia ayuda a que el que tiene las necesidades especiales pueda seguir recibiendo cosas que están fuera del alcance de la asistencia gubernamental y seguir recibiendo la asistencia gubernamental que es muy necesaria para esa persona, para el bienestar de esa persona.
Perfecto. Aquí mencionarlo, la gran importancia de tener todo establecido en el fideicomiso nuevamente y cómo nosotros en Financial, como asesores financieros, podemos ayudar a estas familias, ¿correcto?
Correcto,
A través de tus servicios y también la asesoría financiera que ellos necesitan para poder planear todo y dejar estipulado claramente paso por paso.
correcto.
Perfecto. Vamos a continuar con la siguiente. ¿Cómo se puede usar el seguro de vida junto con un plan de necesidades especiales para que el ser querido esté protegido sin perder los beneficios más importantes?
El seguro de vida, el aspecto muy importante de un seguro de vida es que puedes poner a cualquier persona como beneficiario. Puedes poner a tu esposa, a tu esposo, a tus hijos. El mayor beneficio del seguro de vida es que puedes poner hasta un fideicomiso de necesidades especiales. Muchas de las personas que sacan un seguro de vida lo hacen con la intención de proteger a su familia. Y eso aplica aún para las personas que tienen hijos con necesidades especiales. Yo creo que la mayoría de las personas que tienen familiares con necesidades especiales quieren asegurarse que ese individuo esté protegido, aun si esa persona no está. Entonces, si yo quiero ayudar a mi ser querido que tiene necesidades especiales, saco un seguro de vida. Vamos a decir una póliza de $500,000. Esos $500,000 se los dejo dentro del fideicomiso o dejo como beneficiario al fideicomiso de mi ser querido. Eso significa que le estoy dando $500,000 a mi ser querido y lo estamos poniendo dentro de ese fideicomiso de necesidades especiales. No le estamos eliminando de los servicios gubernamentales. Los puede recibir. Le damos los $500,000 por si los ocupa. Y si no los ocupa, en vez de darle ese dinero al gobierno, lo que hacemos es que ese dinero va a ser transferido a cualquier persona que yo designe dentro del fideicomiso de necesidades especiales, que va a ser el segundo beneficiario en dado caso de que mi familiar con necesidades especiales llegue a faltar.
Claro, completamente de acuerdo. Entonces, aquí mencionando la importancia del fideicomiso, también la importancia de tener un seguro de vida para tener protección a toda nuestra familia y yo creo que también la paz mental que uno como padre está necesitando diariamente, ¿correcto?
100% la paz mental de saber que hay alguien y va a haber alguien y va a haber un monto de dinero disponible para cuidar al ser querido si yo no estoy. Y yo creo que esa es la preocupación más grande de alguien que tienen algún familiar con necesidades especiales. Las personas que vienen a mi oficina y tienen, las personas que vienen a mi oficina y tienen niños chiquitos o tienen personas con necesidades especiales, esa es la preocupación más grande, es quién los va a cuidar si yo no estoy.
Exacto, perfectamente, totalmente de acuerdo. Vamos a continuar con la siguiente pregunta. Cuando una familia apenas empieza a pensar en un plan para necesidades especiales, ¿cuál es el primer paso realista y sin tanta presión que no se sientan presionados para qué recomiendas para hacer la conversación y cómo empezarla desde el día de hoy?
Yo diría que la mejor manera, lo que están haciendo las personas el día de hoy, escuchando esta información, es una de las mejores formas, ¿right? Estamos obteniendo la información educativa para saber que hay formas de proteger a nuestros familiares. La pregunta que yo me haría el día de hoy, si yo fuera un padre o tendría un familiar con necesidades especiales, es ¿cómo voy a proteger a mi hijo y a quién voy a designar a que cuide a mi familiar, a mi ser querido, para que haya alguien que yo confíe que tenga esa oportunidad de poder cuidar a mi familiar? Y si no tengo a ese familiar, ¿a quién puedo, con quién puedo acudir para poder obtener ese apoyo? Y yo diría que ese sería Athena Financial, Marysol, María, personas como ustedes que tienen mucho conocimiento en finanzas, o a personas como los abogados en Card, que tenemos una amplitud de abogados que tienen mucho conocimiento con necesidades especiales. Nosotros estamos aquí para apoyar. Denos una llamada. Estamos aquí para poder ofrecer estos servicios. Nadie lo tiene que hacer solo.
Perfecto, definitivamente. Gracias. Es importante saber que contamos con ese apoyo, que no estamos solos. A veces que se pueden sentir abrumados, ¿verdad? Y uno como padre también teniendo un hijo con necesidades especiales, no saber por dónde empezar. Pero con esta lección, con este aprendizaje que nos están dando el día de hoy, yo creo que es prácticamente es maravilloso. Muchísimas gracias, Víctor. Continuamos con la siguiente pregunta. ¿Quiénes son los profesionales clave que usted prefiere tener en la mesa cuando una familia está planeando para un ser querido con necesidades especiales y para sus otros hijos al mismo tiempo? ¿Quiénes serían esas personas sumamente importantes y profesionales?
Las personas importantes serían primero los que cuidan del ser querido, y los que son los cuidadores principales de ese ser querido, los que se están preocupando por dejar alguna protección para ese ser querido. Típicamente viene siendo mamá y papá, right? Mamá y papá del ser querido. Segundo, cualquier otro familiar que esté cercano que ayude a cuidar, right? El equipo de cuidado de esas personas, asesores financieros, personas que sepan cómo administrar los bienes de uno para poder eh, crecer nuestro portfolio, y que podamos dejar un monto más grande a nuestros seres queridos. Esos serían los principales. También a veces tenemos a los terapistas. A veces, dependiendo de la condición médica, a veces tenemos que tener un equipo médico más grande que tenga un panel de médicos que pueda apoyar a hacer esas decisiones para el cuidado y el bienestar del ser querido. Porque dentro del fideicomiso de necesidades especiales, una parte es el lado financiero. La segunda parte es el lado de el cuidado personal de ese ser querido. So, es un como no sé, Marysol usó una palabra en inglés que es muy, no sé cómo traducirla, interdisciplinary. A lo mejor me ayuda Marysol si nos está escuchando todavía a traducirlo. Pero interdisciplinario, yo diría, si es que lo estoy haciendo diciendo bien.
Sí,
Um,
sí, correcto, sí, ya.
um,
No muy común escucharla, pero realmente es, embarca todo lo que se necesita
Correcto,
completamente.
es un
Ujú.
equipo completo
Sí,
y eso nos le ayuda más que nada a los padres a saber que no están solos, right? No están solos, hay un equipo legal, hay un equipo financiero y hay un equipo de salud.
perfecto. Lo que no, no lo pudiste mencionar mejor ahí. Son las tres personas yo creo que más importantes para una persona, ¿verdad? Y el saber que no están solos y que siempre hay alguien ahí que va a estar detrás de ti dándote esa palmadita para decir, aquí estamos. Cuentas con nosotros y te vamos a guiar desde el A hasta todo el proceso. Perfectamente, gracias, Víctor. Por último, quiero, para que todos los que estén tomando nota y ahorita y no se sientan abrumados, yo sé que es mucha información, pero después de esto, si un padre se siente abrumado por todo esto, ¿qué le dirías para que no se paralice y termine sin hacer ningún plan, para que no se quede congelado?
Yeah, primero hay que respirar y saber que no hay un plan perfecto. Solo ocupamos un punto de empiezo. Necesitamos encontrar un punto donde vamos a empezar y eso es el día de hoy, right? Empezando a platicar acerca de el plan. El día de hoy no necesitamos tener las respuestas a todo, right? Eh, el cuidado de un familiar con necesidades especiales puede ser un poquito detalloso y hay muchos detalles que vienen dentro del plan de planificación y yo diría que el hecho de que están pensando en planificar, están ustedes pensando en hacer un acto de amor. El planificar para un ser querido, para cualquier ser querido, es un gran acto de amor. ¿Por qué? Porque estás diciendo, yo lo estoy pensando para que tú no tengas ese dolor, right? Tú no tengas que pensar que estaba en mi pensamiento, yo estoy tomándome el tiempo para poner todos mis pensamientos en papel y dejar estructurado todo para que si yo llego a faltar ya está todo escrito. Am, Segundo, no están solos, right? No están solos durante este proceso y hay un equipo que está dispuesto a ayudar. Hay el equipo como Athena Financial que está muy dispuesto y tiene mucha educación en las finanzas y puede dar un apoyo muy grande para poder expandir los portfolios, para poder encontrar las maneras de am, maximizar los recursos de uno y podemos aliarnos con abogados como en Guard que tenemos bastante conocimiento en las necesidades especiales y podemos aliarnos con otros grupos que pueden asegurarse y dar la guianza durante este proceso que puede parecer muy pesado, pero para eso estamos nosotros acá, para poder ayudarles con esa carga, con el lado legal, con el lado financiero, con todo eso que nosotros podemos ayudar.
Completamente de acuerdo, Víctor. Pues no queda más para la audiencia, todos los que nos están escuchando, no sentirse abrumados, que es lo principal, y tomar acción, ¿correcto? Paso a paso, y estamos aquí, como lo mencionó Víctor, en Guard, que son un grupo de abogados, y Athena Financial para poderlos asesorarlos en cualquier momento, y de paso a paso, caminamos con ustedes. Muchísimas
Claro
gracias,
que sí.
Víctor. Doy por terminada la sesión en español, continuamos con Marysol.
Pues aquí, si quieres acompañarme, María, últimos pensamientos, pues viene siendo que no tengan miedo, ¿verdad? Que tengan el valor de enfrentar estas conversaciones y estamos muy dispuestos a ayudarles si en algún momento de hoy pensaron, ¿sabes qué? Pues ya tengo que empezar. No quiero dejar esto para el siguiente año, quiero dejar esto ya solucionado o encaminado este mes de enero a 2026, que es la fecha de la publicación de este segmento. Entonces, fue mi placer ayudarles a impartir esta información
Igualmente, un placer poder estar siempre aquí para ustedes.
y nos vemos en la siguiente charla. ¿Algunos últimos comentarios, Víctor?
Gracias por la oportunidad de poder proveer esta información. Como les he comentado anteriormente, siempre un placer trabajar con Athena Financial y estamos aquí a la disposición de ustedes y para poder ayudar en cualquier cosa que nosotros podamos ayudar.
Excelente. Thank you, all of you who are bilingual that watched and listened until the end. We are happy to serve you in the near future, and we look forward to corresponding. Have a great night.
Well, good night.
Hello, everyone. After reviewing your questions, there was one that came up just now. We're going to answer it live. It's regarding a cultural consideration. The awareness, for example, in the Hispanic Latino culture of a padrino or a madrina, a godmother or a godfather, to support the belief that they will take over the needs of their parents and families, loved ones, should the parent pass. Now, can you confirm, Victor, that this does not hold up in court, or is this taken into consideration?
Yes, unfortunately not. Madrina and padrinos, godmothers, godparents, they do not have a priority when it comes to being appointed to take care of your children. Uh, Generally, the best way to ensure that your children are being protected, if you want it to be madrina and padrino, um, I would say put it in writing, put it in a guardianship designation. Um, Sign it off, keep that in your documents, because what you would hate to happen is that if madrina and padrino were the only ones that were available and they were not listed and they have no type of relationship with them, right? Um, what ends up happening is that child gets picked up by Child Protective Services, and they're in foster care for X amount of time. And yes, maybe potentially the family madrina and padrino can go and petition the court to get appointed and have to show evidence why they would want to be appointed. But there is nothing that says that they automatically get it. The only way to establish that they would automatically get it is to put it in writing. Put it in writing, make those designations, and ensure that's the way it's going to be.
Well said, because yeah, if it's not in writing, any stranger for that matter can want to take over the care, quote unquote, of your child. And what if it's immediate family, Victor? What if it's
Immediate
the
family
sister,
has,
the
sorry,
aunt of the child?
immediate family has probably an easier time in court, right? But that means that your child or your loved one is already in the hands of Child Protective Services potentially. And that in itself is probably very traumatic for a child, right? Mom and dad are gone and they're in Child Protective Services, right? Some random strangers caring for them in the way that mom and dad would not take care of them, right? So um even if you want your sibling, aunt, uncle, mom, dad to take care of your child, I'd say put it in writing. Do the guardianship designation, ensure that they're on there, and you ensure that your child never goes into the hands of a stranger and is always going to the hands of somebody that cares for them.
That's a really key point. Even if there is someone of the bloodline out there that would be happy to support the children, time is against him or her because they're still going to go into the government system, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's probably the hardest part, right? That you don't want them to go into that. Maybe the Child Protective Service, you're working on a maybe, right? And that's probably the hardest part of all this, that you don't want to maybe. You want to for sure.
Mm.
Like, I'm gone and my children are for sure going with their madrina, their padrino, their aunt, their uncle, their grandma, their grandpa. You want that to be a for sure thing, that if you're not available for X reason, there's somebody that you know, somebody that you trust, that they are being taken care of by.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks so much. That was a outstanding question that we had, so I'm so happy we got the opportunity to go over it. All right, everyone, have a great morning or night wherever you are in the world, and we're here to support you. If you'd like to review your estate and legacy plan with attorney Victor Martínez, call or text me, Marysol, at 562-900-3200. Si quieres revisar tu plan de legado y patrimonio con el abogado Víctor Martínez, llámame o mándame un mensaje al 562-900-3200.